All right, good morning, Bardstown and Nelson County, and welcome to, well, I was going to say Bradford and Brooks, but this morning it's Pineiroa and Brooks, my very special studio guest. This morning is Nelson County Sheriff Ramon Pineiroa. Margie Bradford is back on special assignment. I think she's actually in a little town in South Carolina called Myrtle Beach. So you can imagine that special assignment. Anyway, no, she's out and about somewhere and wasn't able to come into the studio. I'm the one who wants to be at Myrtle Beach, but we certainly have the heat for the beach here. I don't know what the weather is in Myrtle Beach, Raymond. But anyway, Raymond is with us today, and wanted to get Raymond in to talk about, well, the issue before Fiscal Court is deputy pay. And I think this is an important issue because it, as we were talking before the show, Raymond, and I know that law enforcement is undergoing some tough times. And I think you brought that out at Fiscal Court, that, not every people aren't, as a career, are having second thoughts about law enforcement.
Thank you for having me, Jim. You're absolutely right. The nature of the climate right now towards police being sued and this or that turns people away from a very good profession. You have actually great people that can do the job and are good at it. But with the climate that we're in, it's a deterrent. No retirement. You got a 401k, and you're depending on what the market is going to be doing. And then you're looking at the generation. Like I was telling you, the older crowd, we're looking for the future, what the retirement is going to be, and we have those under what I'm in and what some of my guys are in. But the young generation are on their 401k, which is right now is becoming a bust. It's roll the dice and see where the market's going to be or what it's going to do. And so the younger generation are kind of, excuse the language, but it's going to be chasing the dollar. And what can I do for my family now? Right. And that's the facts.
Right. Well, Raymond, you've got a tell us a little bit about your background in law enforcement. You're not a Johnny-come-lately.
No. So straight out of high school, I went into the military, and I've always said that I wanted to do military or law enforcement, and I've been lucky to do both. I spent almost 10 years in the Army, and when I was stationed at Fort Knox, I met my wife, who's from Bardstown, and I stayed locally here in Bardstown, and I called this home. This is the longest I've been in my whole entire life, and I was lucky enough that when the sheriff's office had the same situation that I'm having now, in 2005, when Sheriff Newton at the time lost 5 guys, I became one of the replacements. So with that being said, I started my career here at the Sheriff's Office in 2006. Went through the academy at Department of Criminal Justice in Richmond, and been here ever since. I've gone through the ranks, worked night shift, and ran for office and was lucky and got elected.
Well, Raymond, and I know that the whole environment with policing is just as an outsider looking in. I mean, we've had protests and all these issues and defund the police, et cetera, et cetera. But when it comes down to it, the Nelson County Sheriff's Office still has to respond, is still there providing protection for all of Nelson County, regardless of the latest slogan or a Facebook, meme going around.
You're absolutely correct. A lot of departments across the state are restructuring their policies, and they're not even pursuing criminals. You come to Nelson County, the sheriff's office will pursue. We're going to find out why you're running, and we're going to find out what criminal activity you have done or why you're running from us.
Right.
and that is going to continue as long as I'm the sheriff. We will prosecute criminals, attack the drug game, and everything that comes with it.
Well, Raymond, I know that you a couple of meetings ago, you and I've heard this just about every budget cycle, and that a request from you for fiscal court to consider raises for the deputies, because the people may not be aware, but the road patrol, you've got 17 guys that in the sheriff's office whose salaries are provided, and I guess benefits too,
Correct.
by Nelson Fiscal Court.
Correct.
You don't control those purse strings. That's Nelson Fiscal Court, and that goes back to an agreement when they merged the county police with the sheriff's office, a contractual arrangement. And that, and I can just from outside looking in, it has to be frustrating, because you can't, no matter what a great job these guys do for you, you don't really have the power other than asking for pay increases. You know, you can't find it in your budget. It's not your budget.
That's correct. So
well, it has to be frustrating too.
it is, because like the guys that work that are fiscal court deputies, 17 of them, if I tell them to do something, they go out there and do it. And just for a prime example is, we have crushed the paper service that we do at the sheriff's office. When I was a deputy, we would have 300 to 500 papers to serve. Wow. And it's almost impossible to get that much done. And this was back in 2006. I'll even go to 2010, 4 years in. Here we are in 2022, and we have less than 30 papers in our boxes to be served. And they come in every day. And the guys are hustling and getting out there. While your guys are out there serving papers, they're out patrolling your streets. And guess what they do? They get into neighborhoods. They get into veins of the county where these guys are actually being seen, because they're out doing extra jobs that before didn't.
Right.
So those are just some of the things that the guys do what I say or ask them to do, and they do it. But at the same time, they're productive for the citizens.
Well, I think anytime you have, well, I'll tell you, growing up, we had a KSP trooper lived across the street from me when I lived on Center Street here in town, and we never had anybody blow past that Kurtz Avenue stop sign. Right. Never, as long as that trooper's car was parked in the driveway. You know, it was the safest street, and they all obeyed the speed limit. But the presence of officers, uniformed officers, and vehicles is a deterrent, definitely a deterrent to crime.
It is, and I said it at this fiscal court. It does not matter what the gas prices are going to be. I was elected to do a job, and we will figure out where we're going to make those cuts to pay for that fuel. But you're still going to see the sheriff's office throughout the county. It's a big county. Some areas do not get touched because they don't have papers, or we just don't get many calls out there. But you call us, and we're going to respond. We're a 24-hour service sheriff's office. And with that being said, it's a lot of differences with some of the other county sheriffs that they only cover to a certain time because of manpower.
Right. Well, Raymond, I know that I've heard the frustration in your voice talking about making the case for fiscal court to find money in the budget to improve, to make the deputies' pay more competitive. And tell us a little bit about the competitiveness of the market now. I mean, you made a reference to policing almost as being dinosaurs because and maybe it's not attracting the same number of its level of interest it may have in the past. But what are the struggles you see in keeping the guys you have, and what attracts them to leave?
So, like I said, the majority of the guys that are working for me now are younger deputies. with families, and the difference is that, again, I've been here since 2006 when pay was not even what it is today.
Right.
And I stayed. I stayed because I love what I do, and I had a retirement. I had a future to look forward to. And so with that being said, the guys it's in the now moment, and that's just the younger generation. And I got a young man that's leaving to make $10,000 more. And the mind-boggling part is he's top 5 in seniority at the sheriff's office. Okay, that means he's got more vacation than most because of the benefits that he's receiving.
Right.
Seniority and picking shifts when we do shift change every year. You can go to nights or you can come to days. You have that seniority of choice. We do a pretty good job maintaining new vehicles and the equipment that we get for the deputies at the sheriff's office. So with that being said, that means nothing. It's the money, the wages, and that was the thing. I got a text about it's political. No, it's not. I know it's election year, but I've been preaching this for 3.5 years. It's not a new thing that I just threw up because it was election year.
Right.
So with that is basically better wages for our deputies.
And just looking at the figures between and your closest competitor is in your building.
Correct.
The Bardstown Police Department. Now they just completed a wage study in preparation for this the fiscal year 23 budget, and so adjusting all their wages upwards, and you're feeling the pressure of those wages next door going up, and while the sheriff's office wages are pretty much stagnant, I suppose. Or are you getting 7%?
We got and I'm very, very appreciative of Fiscal Court stepping up and giving all county employees a 7%.
Right.
I've said it. I work with County Judge Dean Watts, and we've had meetings. But the frustrating part is we're getting a 7 when the guys next door are getting anywhere between 10 and 15%. So they're doubling what we're getting. Creating a bigger gap. I've lost since I've been in office 1, 2, 3, 4 guys to next door. 4 of them. Okay, and that's counting the new and at the end of this month, or heck, the 20th. So I've lost 4 to them. I showed them 3 years ago their pay scale, and that we needed to go to a pay scale stair-stepping because, for one, it's a gimmick for retention. You're given a few cents to retain guys every other year. And when you have 4 years and you're making $1 more, it creates a retention for those guys to stay in one place. 2, 3 years, or year 3 of their scale, they were making $24.12. July 1st, they're going to $29.59, and that's what I was trying to use at Fiscal Court, but I was not able to say my spiel and inform the magistrates and inform the public of that. They want to do a study of officers and deputies combined. Our office has an average of 9.6 years of law enforcement experience. Wow. Okay, we're young. We're losing in the next 6 months to a year, probably about 100 years of experience. That's crucial. It's just phenomenal of an experienced guy like my chief deputy, Dickie Jones, who has 35 years of law enforcement experience, to be replaced with a guy who has 1 year.
Yeah.
The next one would be Deputy Dennis Wells. He's got 30 plus years of experience. That's 65 years that's irreplaceable. And not counting the other guys who have 10, 12 years that are going next door for more money. So right now it's beneficial for looking at studies that say, yes, we're young, But if we would have done this 3 years ago, we would have been on the flip side. We would have been a lot older. I just had Jason Allison retire with 22 years of law enforcement experience. I had Kevin Cox retire with 24, I think, 23 or 24 years of experience. So we've lost a lot of guys with enormous experience. Kevin Cox could walk up to an injury accident, vehicles everywhere, people everywhere, and he would tell you how it happened and when it happened and how places ended up in the places, and it was phenomenal. And everybody's got their own things that they bring to the table, and that's what we'll miss, but we have to do something.
Well, I'll tell you that that's that kind of experience you can't buy, you know, and the experience that these guys bring to the table, and it really it's really a tremendous loss to the sheriff's office and to the community.
To the community, we will survive. I promise you that.
Right.
Guys will have to step up and go to classes and learn more and be more. I don't want to say creative, but we got to be more proficient in what we do and expand your areas of expertise. And but yes, that is a blow of losing that many years of experience in that short period of time.
Well, you know, let's see, 30 plus years ago, when I was a student, a journalism student, I did some ride-alongs with some local, I won't mention the local agency, pardon me, but I rode with a couple of 30-year veterans, a couple different shifts, and then with a fairly new officer a couple years. And there was a big difference in how they, I mean, everybody's looking how they police.
Jerry said it best yesterday. You can hire retired guys, but they're there for the job. They're going to do their job.
Right.
But the guys that are beating the bushes are the younger guys.
Right. They're truly beating the bushes.
Oh, they are. They are.
And they're going after it.
They are. And some of the posts, we don't post everything, but we post some of the bigger drug busts that we have gotten. And that's the younger guys. New guys, less than 6 months to the department. To the office. And those are the guys that are making things happen.
Right.
The future will be bright for years to come if these guys stay, but we have to do something to retain them.
Well, that the key words, if these guys stay.
Correct.
So, you know, one of the things that Judge Watts discussed just in passing yesterday at the meeting was revamping the 911 fee to kind of make that self-supporting, so the city and county wouldn't have to contribute, I believe. And now, are you? I know that whoever's in charge of the 911 board switches back and forth, but is it your turn?
I'm in right now for the next 2 years.
All right. Any thoughts on that as a either a funding mechanism or, you know, a way to come up with additional money? Or I think you even said yesterday you didn't think that you felt there was money in the budget to cover.
I believe
that.
So.
Now specifically, was that for the money to cover just the road patrol raises or raises for the entire sheriff's office?
I'm looking at what I'm looking at. My focus right now is sheriff's deputies. Okay, gotcha. Okay? I know that there's $168,000 in a budget for raises, $3. And Judge said, you said $2 last time. I said I did, because I was not informed of what the city of Bardstown was going to be paying them. Right. And when I highlighted it, I gave you a copy of it, and it says $29.59. My jaw dropped.
Yeah, that was a new that's a new study that the city just recently finished.
E-Town just did one very similar, and they got a huge pay raise as well. Spend the money and do a study for the countywide employees, and I promise you're going to have to do the same. We're evolving through the years. More people. We ride the county roads and neighborhoods all the time.
Right.
I'll ask you to go through 2 neighborhoods, Copperfields and Corman's Crossing. I was amazed how many houses, new houses, are going.
Right.
Just across my neighborhood on Woodlawn Springs, you look across, they're building duplexes that as soon as they're built, people are living in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hundreds and hundreds of people that are now living in Nelson County. They're new homes. The other homes are hard to come by. Anybody renting a house, that's almost slim to none.
Right.
So we're getting either more people in Nelson County. The census will never tell you every single people that lives in the county.
Right.
We would have to go door to door and find out on a computer or a tablet and input that information, and we don't. We're depending on people to mail in the information to get a census, and it's not a true census. I believe that right now and today we have more than 50,000 people in Nelson County.
That's probably fair to say.
That is not counting the extra 5,000 people that are touring and visiting Nelson County because of the bourbon or the small town touch that Bardstown has. Mm-hmm. So those are things that we also would have to look at. We still serve citizens or visitors that come here. What if they get a flat tire? They're on the side of the road. They don't know anybody around here. Who are they going to call? Dispatch? And they call the Bardstown police or the sheriff's office to come out there and help out.
Well, Raymond, I know that Judge Watts said that he would gather information from other agencies, but I wonder if that will tell the whole tale. If a sheriff's office and other places, because we're kind of a unique situation. I don't know. Are there any other? Do other counties' fiscal courts fund the sheriff's office?
No. There might be a handful, maybe 2 handfuls of out of the 120 counties.
Right.
I have sheriffs at the conference talk about how they struggle, but people want more, and there is no support. And I'm blessed. I'm very blessed. I've said it multiple times publicly that the merger of the sheriff's office and the county police is the best thing going. We just have to work on better funding for it and work together. This ain't a Ramon Pineiroa show.
Right.
This is retaining guys that are here to work and protect and serve the citizens of Nelson County.
All right. Well, Raymond, we need to take a commercial break and get some messages in. You're listening to Bradford and Brooks, or actually, I guess this morning it's Pineiroa and Brooks, and Sheriff Ramon Pineiroa is with us this morning. We'll be back after these messages, so please stay tuned. All right, you're back with Bradford and Brooks. Jim Brooks and Nelson County Sheriff Ramon Pineiroa with me this morning actually. And Margie is on special assignment, and we'll be back next Wednesday. And I've been talking with the sheriff about, discussions in fiscal court about pay for the deputies. And the sheriff, of course, is a constitutional officer, has his own budget. However, it's been 20 years ago plus, I think, maybe.
Yes.
Nelson Fiscal Court approved a merger of the then county police into the sheriff's office with the agreement that the fiscal court would fund the salaries and benefits of what we know today as the road patrol, which today consists of 17 deputies, and the fiscal court is responsible for their salaries and benefits, and that agreement has really worked to the benefit of the county ever since that first agreement was signed.
That's correct, and I've said it publicly, and I'll say it again. it'll be nonsense to do a split. You'd be hurting the citizens more than anybody else. The merger was probably the greatest thing because you have a larger amount of force that you can do a lot more things with.
Sure, and you don't have duplication of services either.
Correct. It's not a call this one or call that one.
Right.
You call the sheriff's office, we cover the county, and we do our best to do the reports, investigate the crime, or whatever the case may be.
Right. Well, Raymond, I know that a number of figures were bandied about yesterday about what raises would cost, and I know that, and I think the figures that you mentioned, you're just looking at raises for that Fiscal Court would control, the 17 deputies.
Correct.
And not the entire sheriff's office.
Staff for the sheriff's office,
Yeah,
correct.
because that includes court security. You've got the clerks and other administrative people in the sheriff's office, and I'm probably forgetting another.
That's about it.
Okay.
And part timers.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the numbers that Fiscal Court provided yesterday was for the full staff of the sheriff's office.
Right.
And that's not what I'm asking for.
Right. That number was rather large too.
It was. So I was in a shock when he was providing me a $2 raise, and it was larger than my $3 for 17 deputies.
Right.
So I was like, I was even texting after the meeting. I was like, what was all those numbers? And when your story came out from the Gazette, I was asking even further because that was an astronomical 782,000, I believe it was.
Right.
And so,
Yeah. Now I did go back and correct that after Judge Watts contacted me.
did he? Okay.
Yeah. So those figures.
It was sent to me while I was at dinner, and I was reading it, and I was like, now the other was that I took it as that the other department heads were against what I was doing. My suggestion to them is if you're losing guys, go to bat for them. That's what you are there for as the department head. And if you want to do the same thing that I'm doing to retain your guys or gals, that's something that I would suggest you do. But going to numbers, all I asked was for a 17 deputies to be raised by $3. And it would come out to $167,606.40. That is counting all their hourly wages. That is counting their benefits, Social Security and FICA, and that was the numbers and the percentage and the retirement.
So that includes a hazardous duty.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. That's why the 58%, 49.8 is the hazardous duty retirement. And the judge said yesterday it was 7. I did 8.2% to make it a even 58% on benefits.
Right.
So I went a little bit extra on that. It might be numbers. My numbers might be a little high. I did not add workman's comp or anything else. I was not given those numbers to add, so I did not add those. But I think with that being said, it's a feasible number. And I was going through my spiel yesterday, but I couldn't get everything out because just too much chaos going on. I said, to be fair to Fiscal Court and to my guys, I averaged a 10-year officer at the Barstown Police Department. They're going to be making $29.59. They're making $4.43 more than we are. I asked for a $3 raise, and this, if you would look under an 8-year officer, they're making $3.25 more than us. At an 8-year, they're still making 25 cents more than us as we speak.
Right.
The judge asked for a comparisons officers to deputies. Here I'm stating that our average is 9 years and 6 months of service combined. This is combined. This is not even counting my chief deputy who's retiring at the end of this month, because he'll be gone July 1st. He's got 35 years. That's irreplaceable. We've talked about it earlier. So I think a 3-year would keep our guys in place for the long run. But I would bring up to the table that we have to do something as a longevity, whether, like EMS said, 30 cents every 2 years, or so on. We have to get creative for retention. I call them gimmicks, and that's what they are. They're gimmicks for a reason. You have to entice people to come work for you and stay working for you. And, you know, when you have the revenue that the city does, they were able to do those to come and stay and work for them and stay. So we'll see, and we'll work on it.
Well, it seems to me that rewarding years of service and experience is kind of common sense, because you want to let your guys know that their experience and their agreeing to stay is valuable. That just makes them more valuable the longer they're with you.
It tells the guys that are coming to work for you that your employer cares, and they're giving you an incentive to come and stay longevity. Remember what I told you, older guys are looking for that longevity, the retirement, the this and the that's.
Right.
The young guys, we have to teach them those things.
Right.
And when we don't have them, we have to create them to entice them to stay and say, hey, in 2 years, you're going to make 50 cents more. In 4 years, you're going to make 75 cents more. In 10 years, you're almost going to be making $10. I'm just throwing a number out there. $2 more.
Right.
And it gives them something to be looking forward to.
Well, you know, this is not unheard of. If you go into the education system, teachers get step raises every year for every year of experience. They'll get a, you know, so, and I don't know, that sounds like, sounds like a good way to, you know, let your guys know that they're valuable and that they have a future if they stay. And of course, those sorts of raises should be above and beyond any, you know, across the board raises too. You know, that shouldn't be, and that this is just me talking. You know, I'm not the one. I don't have the purse strings, but you know and of course I'm sure you'll probably hear this. Some years ago, when the city uncapped their occupational tax and raised the rate, they have quite a bit of money to fund their general fund, which funds, of course, police department. And I think, and Judge Watts has always been very conservative about money. But, you know, I kind of wonder if I was a sheriff's office employee and heard the discussion at Fiscal Court, how valued a deputy I would feel if, you know, that to have somebody say, well, you know, if they want to go work next door or go work a different agency, let them go. You know, it's like, well, that's not the whole story. You know, you're losing a lot there than just somebody who sits in a police car.
And I'm not knocking any other profession, but law enforcement, 6 months of training before you get on the job.
Right.
So you have to go to school, the academy, and be trained on how to be the police. Tell me what other job you can hire, and you have to do that. I don't think there's any other than EMS, maybe. And fire, they have a fire school.
Right.
First responders are mainly your apples that be categorized and be going in that category. But at the end of the day, I'm not knocking a young man that likes to go in the garbage truck and tip garbage cans. Most people wouldn't do that job. But to compare apples to apples, you have to compare law enforcement to law enforcement. And not other areas of the county employees.
Right.
And I think that is one thing that we do a lot, is we compare. There'll never be a sheriff's office that can compare mutually mirror to each other.
Right.
And we got 120 of them. There's not one and one that match each other. And same thing to it, but the frustration, and I'm not mad at the city, I'm not mad at the chief. We've had talks, and it's a business.
Sure.
What we do is a business scenario. It's just government. And at the end of the day, if they can pay their employees more and give them better benefits, I'm not mad at my guy for leaving and better himself and his family. I'm upset that we have to do something to make us better, more competitive. Several years ago, they did a race for another department in county government. They didn't do that for everybody. So let's focus on where the problem is. Let's not blanket memo and address the situation and not everybody. We're not Oprah. Everybody gets a car. So it has to be addressed by the department basis and what the needs are.
Right.
We have to do that.
Well, Raymond, this is kind of out of left field, but do you think it would be fair or beneficial to have an independent third party come in to do a rate study or a pay, like the city did? Because this, I don't know who they use this time, but in the past they've used somebody who's completely independent and works independently, and then really looks at what the jobs the people. Of course, this was all with all operations in City Hall, not just police department, and then comes up with ranges or what's fair payment, or what's fair compensation. Will you think that might be beneficial to this whole discussion?
Oh, definitely. It's a plus, because I can take this, Jim. You do a study, and that study comes back and tells me that we need to get 25 cents. I'm okay with that. You have an independent person or group, an outfit that comes in and tells me that, I'll just have to take it for what it's worth. That's what they do for a living. I couldn't tell you how to be a journalist because I'm not one. It's like vice versa. You can't tell me how to be law enforcement because you're not one.
Right.
And that's the frustrating parts of the whole scenario. I'm asking because I know what I need. This has been an ongoing issue even before I was the sheriff.
Oh, yeah.
And especially with law enforcement. The climate that we were in, the riots, the protests, all that. Some of that, you're blanketing all law enforcement because of an incident that happened in another state or whatnot. I would say that our guys treat people professionally, but I also have a standard. I don't tolerate you coming to my guys and F-bombing them and fussing at them because the scenario flips the sheet. We're not going to tolerate that. So my guys know that. I tell them, don't be the starter, don't be the initiator, but at the end of the day, we're not a punching bag. Right.
Well, Raymond, you mentioned this before the show. You mentioned the Sheriff Academy. That was such a tremendous experience for me as a journalist. And this is kind of out of the blue, but do you have any plans for having another Sheriff's Academy in the near future, or any thoughts about that?
We'll have one, of course, with COVID and everything kind of put a damper on things, how we were doing things in our town hall meetings and stuff. But I still plan on kicking those back up. I've talked with the schools, doing our initial walkthroughs through the schools, and helping out as much as we can, especially to the rural schools. We're going to be present. We're going to be involved in our school systems. Our kids are number one priority for their safety, especially with the climate that we're in with school shootings or active shooters. We will be doing some training this summer, this fall, and we are working with both Bardstown City Schools and Nelson County to get access to know the layouts and whatnot of the new schools and I have a lot of new guys. Some are not from here, so they need to know the layouts and what they're dealing with, how many entrances and whatnot to each pool. So,
right. Well, Raymond, I was editing the video of yesterday's Fiscal Court meeting, and at the end of it, after actually the meeting ended, Judge Watts made a comment about that he felt that negotiations like this would be better without the media being around. And of course, I personally disagree with that, but that talking about it in private could be more fruitful than in a public discussion. And I don't know, you have any thoughts on that?
I think transparency is key. If you're going to talk about the same thing behind closed doors, why not talk over in front of people?
Right.
I think he got agitated, and so did I. But at the end of the day, I'm doing this because I'm a firm believer that my deputies need better pay. If not, I'll be going back to the next fiscal court after January, after it's elected, and I'll be doing the same because it's a thing that has to be addressed. And it's we cannot keep kicking this can down the road, see how far it's going to go.
Right.
We have to address it and address the issue.
All right. Well, Raymond, we've got just a couple of minutes left. Well, it's summertime, Raymond, and hot, and it seems to be the time for in neighborhoods of crimes of opportunity. Do you have any suggestions for homeowners to how to best keep their valuables safe in their cars and homes?
Lock your cars. We do the 9 p.m. routine. It's a friendly reminder at 9 p.m. Go get your little key fob, go outside to hear the horn beep beep, go outside or take your valuables out of the car. Do not leave your guns in the car for whatever reason. If you do, please take a picture of the serial numbers. That way when a gun is stolen, you do have a serial number or information on make and model of the gun. Knowledge is power, and if you can put cameras up and afford them, put them up. You might get a good footage of who stole your items. But if not, just do the basics. Lock your doors, lock your cars, take all the valuables out and whatnot. And be kind to your neighbors. It's hot. Check on your elderly neighbors next door or around and about. And at the end of the day, be kind to everybody.
Well, Raymond, I will tell you that my wife and I recently installed a Ring doorbell, and I've been impressed with the video from that. Not just when the UPS man comes by, but what it sees all far out in front of our house.
The good thing is that you can set up zones and you can go far out, or you can just wait until the UPS man or the person comes close to your door.
Right.
But they got pretty good for how small they are. Yeah. They do have very, very good quality video and audio. So, it's pretty impressive how technology has come along. All
right. Well, Sheriff Raymond, thank you for being on today. And that's going to do it for this week's Bradford and Brooks. Margie and I will be reunited next week for another Bradford and Brooks. See you then.
Hometown Radio. You found it. 1320 AM, 97.1 FM in Bardstown, and 94.9 FM in Lebanon.